everyone, I'm Kirsty. Welcome to Heart's Humble Homestead. Today I'm going to be bottling up the plum gin and plum vodka, and with the remainder I'm going to be making plum butter. Hope you enjoy. It's been over 2 months since I made these, so it's just the plum gin and the vodka gin. I'll put a link to the video there if you haven't seen it. So all the sugar's dissolved. A lot of the colour has came out of the plums. So I'm just going to transfer back into the bottles that the gin and vodka came in. And I've just had them soaking in hot soapy water to get rid of the labels. So that's the gin. I think what I might do is use one of my lids so I don't have to fop on with a sieve to make sure I get it all. These are just the sprouting green lids that I mentioned in my grown indoors video. I'm just going to do that so I don't have to use a sieve to get all of the rest of the juice out. Well, the gin. One. I'm going to use them to make our plum butter. Just double check that one's gin as well. Don't want to mix it up. And that is lovely and full. Still a tiny sample bit in there. I don't drink alcohol, so someone else in my house will have to try it for me. For those wondering, there's no reason, I just never have drink alcohol. That's one plum gin ready. I'm going to label it now so I don't forget what it is. I've already got the labels ready. Plum gin. There we go. I will straighten the label up later, just so I don't get them mixed up in the meantime. And now for the plum vodka. Yet again, we've got a little bit left in the bottom to sample. So we've got a nice plum gin and a plum vodka ready for the festive period. Party gift, I haven't decided yet. So let's move on to making the plum butter. First we're going to weigh our plums. Get that stalk off. Can do this separately, but I'm not bothered about having a mix of gin and vodka plums. So I've got 850 spot on of plums. So for every kilogram we put 150 grams of sugar and 50 ml of water. So I'll just work that out and come back how much I need for this. Now my brain's working now. So we need 135 grams of sugar and 35 grams of water. So I will write the measurements below in smaller quantities if you're only doing a smaller quantity. Tell my daughter's been using that spoon. I'm adding 137.5 grams of sugar. So this is completely adaptable. This is what works for us. You can put more or less sugar in, and depending on your taste, and the water is just to help you dissolve the sugar, so you don't have to be exact. But if you use a lot less sugar, it won't be shelf stable, so you would have to keep it in the fridge or freezer until you're ready to use it. There we go. I'm now going to add 37 ml of water. Again, it doesn't have to be exact because it's just to dissolve the sugar. So I'm not worried about me going over slightly. And then I'm going to use 1.5 tablespoons of homemade vanilla extract. If you would like to see me make this, I will add it to a short, so just let me know. And we're just going to gently bring that to the boil until the sugar dissolves. If you are not using already infused plums, they just need to be destoned beforehand, and when you add the sugar you just need to add 2 to 4 tablespoons of the alcohol of choice, or you can leave it out altogether and just make a nice plum butter. The stalk there, I'll just get that out. So the difference between a jam and a butter, so it's called a butter even though it doesn't have dairy in, it is cooked for longer to let more water evaporate and to intensify the flavour, and you also blend it so it's a nice smooth puree. But this is also good with crackers and cheese, as well as putting in sweet dishes and desserts and on top of ice cream. So all of the sugar's dissolved, so I'm just going to let that simmer until all the plums get nice and swishy, and then we are going to blend it together. Just noticed that I have left some of the stones in, so what I'm going to do is, as it softens, I'm just going to scoop them out just before I blend it, just with one of these. That's softened up and I've removed the stones. No matter how many times you make this, you can still make mistakes. I've been using most of the plums to do the brown sauce that I've already taken the plum stones out with, so I just presumed I'd done the same with this, but obviously I didn't. So I'm just going to blitz this up. You can also use a masher if you don't have one of these blenders, or transfer it to a blender, but that just makes more mess. It's had a few minutes of being blended now, so I'm going to turn it back on the heat, just on low, and let it reduce until it's nice and thick, and coats the back of a spoon and you can separate. As you can see, it's already quite thick, so I just want to reduce it that little bit further and heat it through and get it to set like an extremely thick jam. And while that's simmering away, I'm going to put some jars in the oven to heat up and sterilise. Now this needs stirring occasionally, just to keep an eye on it. Well, it shouldn't be too much longer now. With plums you don't need to peel them, but some of the harder skinned fruits is best if you do. So you will get a smoother result without the skin. And if you're using fresh plums rather than infused ones I've used, it will probably be a different colour too. But this is because most of the colour has left them and went into the gin and vodka. It's been simmering away for about 15 minutes, and as you can see, it's more like a smooth chutney rather than a jam. So the thickness of it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this off. That's a good way of telling it's not coming back. It's a lot thicker than the jam is at this point. So I've got my hot sterilised jars. I'm just going to pop it in. Because it reduces a lot, you don't get much, but it is a very intense flavour. I'll just be careful I don't burn myself, but so I should get. If I hadn't left the stones in and wasted a bit, I would have probably got 2 whole ones of these jars. These are just the small jam jars. I think they're about 200ml. I will find out and pop it up the top. I'm just going to pop them on with a lid. And that will be fine on the shelf once it's cooled. Yeah, it does have enough sugar in to preserve it. And this one won't be quite full, I don't think, so I'll have this like I normally have a sample one. And I'll pop this one in the fridge. I'll come back once they're cooled. So my family have had to taste test the Boozy drink and they really enjoyed that. And the vodka. They said the vodka has held the flavour a little bit more, the gin's milder. So this has been overnight, the plum butter. Nice and thick. And that is ready to go on some crackers. So once I've made some crackers and put the cheese board together, I will pop it on and show you what it looks like. But that is delicious. Hope you enjoyed watching, everybody. Bye.